The Senate adjourns. Senator McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr President. I'm incredibly pleased with our government's enlightened approach to innovation and look forward to contributing to facilitate a variety of policy directions for technology and regional Australia. Contrary to the belief that politicians are using the recent focus on innovation in government to define themselves as relevant and advanced species, for a long time the Nationals and indeed myself have been calling for coding in schools, investment in our world-leading quantum computation technology out of UNSW, which is absolutely fantastic. So excited by the work of Michelle Simmons, and if we can commercialise that and stay ahead of the pack, there's going to be some exciting 21st and 22nd industries being built right here in Australia, and indeed supporting our tech start-up industries. And I had a great visit out to fish burners a couple of weeks ago. It's with great pleasure that I'll actually be judging the Food Tech Hack Food Hackathon on the 8th of November at the Startup Hub Fish Burners in Sydney, where some of the challenges that we're actually going to be addressing are challenge number 5, for instance. Agribusiness is a $230 billion industry, larger than mining. There's been little innovation in the digital space to solve the considerable problems agribusiness faces. Unpredictable weather, export market changes and distribution and logistical challenges are just some of the issues relying on manual or labour-intensive processes. So how can we introduce 21st century reinventions of antiquated solutions within this sector? That's challenge number 5 for the hackathon. So I'd just really like to call on all those creative and high-tech individuals out there that want to actually contribute to the economic sustainability of regional Australia coming forward. Get involved in the hackathon on November the 8th, and I look forward to judging that. Google Australia commissioned a Pricewaterhouse to write up the Startup Economy Study, which found that high-growth technology companies could constitute 4% of our GDP and create 540,000 jobs by 2033. And I'm really wanting to make the call now that I want to see a proportion of those jobs out in regional Australia. I want to see those high-tech startup companies dealing with some of the challenges that we face in regional Australia. Part of the Crossroads Report 2015 by Startup Oz, released in April 2015, proposed the following principles underlying their action plan: to create a national innovation agency, increase the number of entrepreneurs, improve the quality and quantity of entrepreneurship education, the number of people with ICT skills, and even at Fishburn we cannot get enough coders. We're bringing them in on 4, 5, 7 visas as fast as we can type them out. So we've got to get that into our own education system and realise that these guys are earning a lot of money very, very quickly. Improve access to startup expertise, increase availability at early-stage capital to startups, address the legal and regulatory impediment, and increase collaboration and international connectedness. And I just want those principles, as I said before, to actually be involved in regional Australia, agricultural industry, and to ensure that all of Australia benefits from our new focus. The growing and modernising of Asian middle class means that demand for our agricultural product is going to increase exponentially. And we need technology, transformative technology, on-farm and off-farm through our logistics and distributional issues to actually ensure that we reap the benefit of that growing middle class. Australia is shoring up its status as the food bowl of Asia and the South Pacific. It's only going to be proved by entering into CHAFTA and TPP agreements, as we spoke about in question time in this place all week. What we want is the provision of high-quality products grown and nurtured with the best and latest science in mind. Increased innovation will not only improve efficiency but rejuvenated regional industries, will strengthen regional communities and attract more people to know what we all know, that to live and work in the regions is a fantastic thing. To see regional alternative as an excellent community to settle in. Not only is agricultural innovation vital in our regions, also knowledge-intensive tech innovation. The Coalition announced that it will team up with startup incubator Blue Chili to organise a one-day hackathon to generate ideas about how the government can support startups and turn Australia's tech sector into an economic powerhouse. I've got a few of my own principles that I'd like to pitch to the government on this topic as to what Australia's innovation should seek to champion. Invest $25 million, it's a paltry amount, Mr President, over 5 years to the UNSW Centre for Quantum Computing and Communication Technology so that they can get the quantum computer construction and commercialisation stage as soon as possible. I've been advocating for this project for a long period of time. It's very exciting, and I call on the government for that $25 million. It's a paltry amount given our overall budget. Reliable high-speed internet to our region is vital if regional Australia is actually going to be able to participate and use the technological innovations that we need to increase our productivity. We need coding taught in all schools, beginning from primary school, not Year 9. And I know there's some coding clubs which are exponentially increasing the number of kids that are getting involved and starting coding in this. There's a huge skill shortage out there. Tech pitching policy and management ideas about agricultural issues is something I want to also see addressed. More apps that farmers can use and be consulted in the creation of, as well as start-ups basing themselves in regional areas, because we know if you're sitting together, it's like an incubator. You feed off each other. On that last point, the regions can work to attract the physical footprints of start-ups and innovators for the following reasons. It is cheap to live where we live, out in the regions. Not only is it beautiful, not only are you more healthy, we've got cheap office space and lifestyles conducive to creative innovation. Friendly people, Senator Canavan, absolutely, and you can vote Nationals at every election. Inland geographical location makes for a sensible defence positioning of many valuable technological minds and resources. However, from a current Australian tech perspective, we're not moving fast enough or growing fast enough. If you're a business owner, you will know that dealing with fast growth is one of the most challenging aspects of business success, but without it you might look offshore, sell off or wind down, and we cannot allow our intellectual capital to leave our shores. But speaking of growing pains, a metro-based start-up company is desperately needing to expand but cannot physically, as there is sparse supply of real estate options in the Sydney CBD suitable. And I'd hate to see a situation arise in Australia that could have been prevented if the space, rents and affordabilities of overheads were right. Regional Australia can host and develop these start-up hubs and other research centres, particularly working on agricultural and environmental issues that are actually fundamental to our economic future. Professor of Economics at the University of California, Berkeley, Professor Moretti, observed that start-ups draw more knowledge-intensive businesses into the area that they've set up shop and in turn also draw other talented workers. Further, Professor Moretti also observed for each tech or start-up job created, 5 additional jobs emerge in other sectors, and that'll be a real boost for our regional cities if they can attract the initial investment. The interplay between start-ups and agriculture is now, like the overused adage, disrupt or be disrupted. Australian agriculture needs to work with booming tech start-up productions and facilitate the start-ups and scientific research to benefit farmers and regional centres. And I was at Dairy Australia's dinner last night, and that was the key message all night, that industry's future growth and productivity is going to come from innovation and by investing significant dollar in research and development, and it's exactly what they're doing, and I commend the dairy industry for their significant work in that area. One other important aspect of the innovation dialogue is the sharing of knowledge and teaching of innovative techniques so they're brought into practice by relevant industries. And I go to agricultural science and the dearth of graduates we have in that area, but also to see that you don't have to study agricultural science to actually contribute to that particular industry. We'd love to see some ICT graduates applying their knowledge to our space, and I think that's where we're going to get the real addition. I'm very excited to hear the agricultural pitches made in this area. Our national culture needs to encourage start-up development for practical outcomes like food production and animal care, not just dating apps. So all those Tinderellas and Tinderfellas out there, instead of worrying where your next date's coming from, why don't you start working out how we're going to get our fabulous, clean, green product out into the export markets of the world a lot easier and help solving some of those significant environmental and social and production challenges for regional Australia and our industry. And I could go on, Mr President, with some fabulous examples like drones or the use of genetics. The grains industry are using GPS-guided vehicles, etc. There's some really cool stuff going on in ag that I would encourage Australians to get involved in. The conditions to support tech industries are present in our regions, and we only need one to start the pool. The more attention that is given to ongoing work on new farm machinery, flora and fauna breeding programs and smart logistics solutions, the more likely it is that our regional industries can contribute and develop as world-class enterprises.
Thank you, Senator McKenzie. Senator Fawcett.